Okay. All right, we're going to go in. I'm going to make a big noise. 3, 2, 1, and we're going. Hello out there. It's May 3rd, 2017, and welcome to episode 20 of Summoner Sift. We've got the whole crew. Projectors here.
Hey guys, good to be back.
All right. And contractors here.
Hey guys, good to be back as well.
What about ladies? Why are you both
What
so
about ladies?
sexist?
Well, the real answer is that guys is a gender-neutral term.
That's classically PC, Projector. Nice job. Way to navigate that water. I was trying to pin him in a corner. I was going to see what he would say. So how you guys been? What have you been up to? Contractor, we haven't heard from you in forever, so what have you been doing, buddy?
Lots of ping pong. Less league, more ping pong.
It's a ping pong wizard?
I've been trying to get seriously into it, and league has been kind of okay for me lately, so I'm playing a little bit less of that.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you the ping pong master? Should we expect you to see you on TV battling some Korean master pretty soon?
Yeah, they're calling me the next Tiger Woods.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see
Nice.
that.
Yeah, I see the resemblance. Yeah, 100%.
So
Yeah,
now
exactly.
you're the American Febivin who's also Tiger Woods.
Hey man, I'm a man of many talents.
That's so funny. Oh, so ping pong, huh? Well, League will miss you. All the ADCs everywhere
man.
suffer.
See, I could never
I
be
had to
good at
find a
ping
sport. I had to find a sport that was also equally as dorky as I am.
You
People
succeeded.
Are like, okay, he plays ping
Good.
pong, and then there's some people who are like, he plays ping pong, and I'm like, okay, cool, I deserve both of those.
Nice, got it. Did it. What about you, Projector? What have you been up to, buddy?
So I took a 14-hour trip, 7 hours down, 7 hours back, over 2 days to go get a dog from Orlando. So now I own a 7-year-old corgi, and she's amazing. I actually found out she knows a lot more tricks than I thought she did. So I'm just trying random commands to see what she knows. But she's super adorable. My allergies are perfectly fine this time around, no problems, and she's great. Other than that, I started playing Yorick and found out that Yorick is everything I need in a top laner. So I've just been crushing my games with him, as you know.
Yeah, I know. We'll get into that here in a minute.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's Dog Day, dog episode. We'll actually name the episode Dog Day. It's I also got a dog, a tiny little puppy. I'll actually make him. We'll make an amalgamation of the two dogs for the episode picture on the website. So if you want to check it out, please go there. I went full puppy, no 7-year-old. I went the hard route. I got an 8-week-old little hound lab puppy, who is
on
the.
That
Go ahead.
group of pictures, can we also put my mugshot next to it for whenever I inevitably steal your puppy?
No. So
That got done quick.
Alright, spoiler alert.
at 3 a.m., you can totally have him when he's keeping me awake. So no, actually, he's been sleeping through the night, which is pretty amazing. He was really only noisy the first 2 nights, but he's sleeping now. He's still, a puppy, so it's an infant that can walk, which is horrific, But he's pretty cool. He's funny. He's also the big one of the litter, so he was all of the rest of his litter mates were 8 pounds, and he was 15. So he was just shoving over all of the litter mates.
God.
So it's been an experience, as well. I'll say. I always forget how difficult puppies are. So yeah, we got a lot of League to talk about. So let's just plow in. We've got a number of things to talk about. Let's get it out of the way. We haven't had a cast since they released. Rakan and Zaire are out. What do you
They've been out
think?
for 2-3 weeks now.
What do you guys think?
I love that this is kind of like that joke about the duo bot laners, and they kind of just ran with it and actually just made 2 champions off of that joke. The people who only ever do it to play bot or feed type people, they just you know what, fine. We'll just make someone that they can play, and they can just kind of have their fun little circle jerk and be all cool about it.
That's totally relevant, actually. It totally is too, because everyone, every Zaya that I ever see that's duoed with somebody immediately wants to play Rakan with them. As far as them in game, I haven't been super impressed with them. I haven't felt like they're Actually, I'll take that back. I'm actually impressed with them as a release because I don't feel like they are over or undertuned. I feel like they're about right. I think the ADC is a little worse than she probably should be. I feel like the support's a little better than he should be, but not by much. So I feel like it sort of balances out in a weird way. I don't know.
Rakan is I think definitely the stronger of the two from a playmaking potential, because either whether you're disengaging or engaging, he's really strong in that role. Xayah, on the other hand, like she's really only good if you're kiting them backwards, but if you have to chase someone down, you're kind of at a loss because a big portion of your damage is pulling feathers that you shoot behind them back at you. So if you have to chase them down, chances are those feathers are no longer behind them. I have seen a few Xayahs use their ult to dodge like Lux ults and other things, so I've seen a couple outplays in that way. But nothing significant out of Xayahs. It's usually out of the Rakans that are the significant ones.
She is really safe, is what I would say. Like, she's extremely safe. Like, I mean, she has a fizz pole like built into her R. So she's not an ADC you want to chase. Like, she's not. She has the ult to sort of get her out for free. I could definitely see her being like the safe option of like, well, we don't like they have a strong lane and I don't want to die, so I'll just pick this. And she spikes super hard mid game. Her spikes feel very similar to current Kalista, where she's mega strong at a certain point of the game and just like brutal, and then she just sort of falls off pretty hard compared to some of the other ADCs.
Well, and I know that people have struggled to itemize on her because it's like her a lot of her damage comes from her abilities and not just consistently autoing you down. So people have really had struggled. There's been arguments between going a Bork build and a crit build. There's been a lot of back and forth I've heard from the community, and maybe that's died down over the last little bit. But I just she seems really confusing just from that perspective. But I definitely think she's safe. I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed is she feels very safe. I don't know. Bland is what I would say. I like the design of them, but like the champion itself is sort of bland.
She is, in my opinion, Xayah is extremely good at one thing, and that's fighting in a static position. So there's any objectives that you can fight like Baron Dragon or like on a tower where you can afford to fight in a singular spot where you have to fight within the area where she's getting to auto attack and she gets to build up the feathers, she can actually do something. Otherwise, Projector's right. She really primarily kites backwards. And the only way that you can really catch someone with her snare, which like feels really weird, is if you ult first while chasing someone, and you have to be basically on top of them already because the movement speed. You are allowed to move during the ult, but it's not much.
Yeah. So
like she's really good when she gets. It's kind of like the Zyra mentality where you want to get to an area first and you set up, and then you become so much stronger because of that. But if you're not there first, you really don't do anything because you need the setup. You need to have the feathers around to threaten something because sometimes you don't have time to really set this up. And for the Q, auto reset Q. Like that takes it's like what, like a second and a half, maybe like 1.2 seconds, whatever. But it's like significant time. If like there's like a Renekton flash stunning you, like you don't have time to ever do that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, she does have an answer where a lot of ADCs don't have it. She like late in the game, if you just flash something her, she has an answer. She doesn't get just flashed on and die, which I think I think in pro play, like that feels really strong to me. Against certain comps, right?
Yeah, if you have a really good ADC in your game, your team is basically godlike. You give him the ability to make a team fight or make a team comp around him, and then he basically is able to protect himself in the same way that Ezreal does. I love the fact that she has, because again, like fighting the stack positions for objectives. I love the fact that she has the ability to have like a cone snare. Yeah. Which feels insane. Like that is nasty if they go into it.
I can also see like her in like, split push comps where like, you have a Zed like power pushing a lane and then she's on your team with like maybe a Jan or something and you're like pushing back, like you're kiting back and like they're trying to hard engage on you. And it's like, man, that it's really hard to hard engage on that champion because it's not what you want to do. Like if you don't kill her right away, like you almost have to just sort of give up because the longer that fight goes and the further she walks backwards, you're just going to take it. Like, you're going to get triple killed. Like, when she pulls
like
the feathers
don't
in.
chase Singed of ADCs.
She really is, very similar.
It feels like that don't blink first like top lane matchup where like you and the other person are AAing each other and the first person to back off,
Yeah,
the first person
dies.
to cancel an auto dies.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. If you don't engage on her, as soon as you run backwards, now you're walking into her feathers, and then you have no options, and you're really screwed at that point. You're not pressuring her, and then she has free reign to hit you as much as possible, and you're fighting in the zone that she wants you to fight in. So Janna seems like a really good matchup, like a really good combination with that. So does Orianna too, because the thing I talked about a second ago with like the cone snare. If you're able to get that, and you we pull in 2 to 3 people, you now keep them on there for a long time. Because how long is their snare? It's only like a second, right?
Yeah, it's real short. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Following that in combination with an Orianna, that would feel like eternity.
Yeah. Or a Morgana Q.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And Orianna provides a lot of things that you would want to protect her anyway. The same thing, you have that objective control where you get there first, and now they have to walk into your ball.
Yeah. I will say that Rakan. I know that they've developers have outright said this. They wanted him to be the support that assassin players could play in the support role and feel like they're doing the same. And I haven't heard a single person play him who hasn't said that he's not fun to play. That they have like a really good time, like playing him, dashing around, CCing everyone, and running back to their team. And like I think thematically they really nailed him. And I kind of find it funny because like instead of fixing the fact that people have to be autofilled, they just made a champion that you can kind of default to if you do get autofilled.
Yep. They did that. They did that with Braum too. So like they're trying really interesting ways. Like this is part of Riot's like overall design scheme. They're trying interesting ways to get people to play support, right? So like if you look at it like, okay, so people were playing Lee Sin support and really liking it. And those people were people that weren't normally playing support. So they were like, well, what if we made a support for them? So they made Braum, right? And he was like crazy busted, and then they had to tweak him back, and I'll know those people plays him anymore. But now they're like, okay, well, now we'll give them gold items, and now we'll give them quests to the gold items, and now we'll make one for ADCs, and then so they're almost like accepting the fact that people are going to get autofilled to support, I think, like long term, and they're like, well, if you're an ADC main, this is a support you should play, you know, or you're an assassin main, this is the support you should play. And then they're also working in this patch, which we're going to get to in a minute. They're working on like clarity with numbers to show like, you know, oh, look, you hard carried. Like, look at this big number, you know, because everybody wants to see the big damage number. So they're doing that with support. And I feel like that's what he is it's them trying to like, right, like you said, trying to make it so that people will play support. Or if they do, they don't just, you know.
Do you feel like a lot of the design choices for Bard were in the same way? That it was a really unique champion that's primarily focused on basically ganking people in very weird angles.
Yeah.
And catching people out constantly, and that was like a champion that people would be interested in playing for support because it's basically your entire role. You just roam, you snowball the game in a different way. You don't not really like a support role because your laning is like really weak.
Yeah.
Like all you do is basically go through the mid game, and you're like coming like 4 people through these long weird walls that no one ever thought of, and flanking them in a weird direction.
I 100% think that. I think that Bard is that attempt, right? Like, is them trying to, like, do weird things with support to make it more, you know, positive to play. And I think that, personally, I like the way they're doing it, right? Like, I think, like, everyone complains that, like, all the supports right now are, like, mages, you know? But I think, like, if you really think about it, like, those are the most fun supports to play.
Yep.
Right? So, like... So that I don't think that's a bad thing. I think like if people want to play Zyra and Brandon, like it doesn't break the game, like I'm totally fine with that. Like, and then if you like playing Alistar, play Alistar. That's fine. But I mean, if support players want to play champs that are fun to play, like let them do it. Like design more champs that are fun and like go for it.
Personally, the thing I despise most about playing the support role is whenever I'll pick a Janna pick, and there's that feeling of hopelessness whenever you're stuck with allies that just don't particularly want to win, or they don't know how to utilize like themselves or you. And you're watching people, and there's like people like 300-400 HP, and you have like all your abilities up and stuff like that, or you use some to help heal or keep you alive, but then you can't kill someone. You have no impact on the game if you're by yourself, or if your allies just die constantly. You just never get to feel useful.
Yeah, I feel like champions like Janna and like Nami and a couple of others that are in that some very like strict support vein should be niche picks, right? Like the person who wants to do no damage and like not have only wants to help their team, like very switch, like that should be a narrow thing. Like that's not what support, I mean, support can be that, and I think that's fine, but I don't think that should be the default, right? Because it's not fun, right? And I think
you feel a certain role, and it should feel more like the that's the support counter pick. As someone like Janna, whenever you have someone who like it's like a really heavy like melee team,
Mhm.
and Janna's like really good at like basically just like tornadoing 2 to 3 people in a team fight, just having devastating result with a lot of her basic abilities. And like that's what Janna feels like when she's good. Whenever you feel like you're like canceling Leona E onto your carry, or you're bouncing Renekton off, or you're flash ulting, like splitting the team in half, like team comps that you can actually use her abilities correctly on and not feel like useless the whole time is like, yeah, I agree that she feels more like a niche pick, and I'm glad that League is actually starting to skew away from like that's what their support champions are, and that's what they're designed around, the ability to just do that and nothing else.
I think they're taking the right, and it's going to take time, right? Like, because they can't just release like 20 supports all at once. But I think the slow but surely like designing interesting and fun to play supports that impact the game in big ways is the right way to make people play support more, right? And I think like they're even trying like, what if you played your support in the jungle, like, you know, and then you play Ivern, and you know, like Ivern's too good, and we'll get to that here in a minute, but like that is the type, like Ivern should be a niche pick, right? Like that type of very selfless, like I don't do any damage, I'm weird, that should be like not the norm. And when that becomes the norm, the role gets very boring. You know, and we'll kind of get to, like, we talked about this a little last week, but when champions like Nunu and Ivern are the good junglers, that's a problem because they're super boring. And when champions like Janna and Nami are the base in the bot lane, that's real boring. Like, nobody likes doing that.
Yeah, or like the Sona versus Nami, just like sustain lanes where nobody ever like feels like they did anything impactful.
Yeah.
You like chunk someone to like 20%, and it's like, okay, well, give them 30 seconds, they'll be back at full. It's like, yay.
Yeah, the good old Nami Soraka lane where you just like stare at each other and do nothing. Like, is nobody
That's
wants
some of
to
the least fun I ever had playing this game was that crap.
Yeah, and like, so the good on Riot for getting away from that, in my opinion. I think that's a solid design decision. So there's our support minute.
Yeah, you want to kick us off on the patch notes?
Yeah, let's get in there because we got a lot. This is a huge mid-season update, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to go through like the general idea of what the patch notes are for Projector, and then just like we'll just power through them?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think we need to go through numbers or anything. It's just these are just big. So this is the mid-season update, which means that they went through a whole ton of stuff. The first thing they did was the tank reworks, and the Vanguard specifically. So these are your initiating tanks. They redid Maokai, Sejuani, and Zac. They gave them not necessarily new abilities, but except mainly in the case of Sejuani, kind of new abilities. But they basically just made them more interactive to play instead of go in, CC, and stand around until your team kills them. So they made them more interactive. And more distinct, and that's cool. It really kind of makes them each more unique, and gives you more playing areas for them, more a bigger niche to play them in. On top of that, they released a few new tank items and reworked some current tank items in line with that. And they also reworked the Rift Herald. So the Rift Herald is completely different now in that you still kill it. It still spawns at the same time, and it's still a one-off kill. But now it gives the person who picks up the buff a Baron-empowered recall, and they can summon the Rift Herald in their lane after that. Kind of, we are heroes of the storm now, boys.
Yeah.
And it will basically just start shredding turrets.
Yeah, so let's actually start with that.
Turrets.
Let's talk about that first, and then get into the changes of the champion. So, like, new Rift Herald, very good, very strong. Now, at least in my opinion, right? I'd be curious to know what your opinions are on that. What do you think, Contractor? Have you seen how much damage this thing does to turrets yet?
Oh god, when that thing is at full HP, it is disgusting. Now, granted, I honestly like so. When they make changes like this,
Hold on, wait, be quiet. You're roboting out. All right, let's hear you one more time.
I just work now.
You sound like
questionable. All right, so let's get Projector's thoughts, and we'll come back to Contractor on his.
So Rift Herald is interesting because any jungler can solo it right now. It's weak enough that right now, because I think they're trying to encourage people to take it. But honestly, for how strong it pushes, so when you summon it, it immediately just headbutts the first tower. And when I say headbutts, I mean it'll headbutt from like halfway down the lane. It'll just like headbutt at the turret, and it does a percentage of its own HP as true damage to the turret. so it can do up to like 1,000 damage on a turret. Like easily, if it could headbutt twice, then it would two-shot a turret. But it headbutts and then it just starts swiping at it. It does not attack enemies. It only attacks turrets. And its eye summons just the same, or opens up just the same way it does in the pit. So that's how the enemy should really kind of focus it down.
So it does the eye-opening thing whenever it comes out of the pit and it's pushing down a lane?
Yeah, the eye-opening. So the idea is that it doesn't attack enemy champions when you have the buff, right? When you've summoned it for your team. But the way that the way that the enemy team should kill it is by still trying to look for those eye-open windows.
Okay,
it'll
cool.
still do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because honestly, and I think that's fair, because how quickly that thing will tear through a turret. If you get 2 or 3 people in a lane with that thing, like you're gone. Your 2 of your turrets are gone if your team doesn't respond in time. It's that ridiculous.
There is a video of that is on Reddit right now of I think it's a Master Yi and like, is it a Syndra? And like Master Yi and Syndra take the buff, Yi takes it, recalls, farms a camp, comes back to mid, and like the mid like has cleared the wave basically, and the opposing mid has went back to base. Okay, they use the thing, it immediately kills the first turret almost like instantaneously, and they kill the second turret before the mid gets back to the second tier turret. Okay.
Oh my god.
And then they are pushing on the inhibitor turret with the thing. It is, if they are not there to fight this thing, it immediately destroys the turret.
Okay, so that's probably too good.
If you're a jungler and you're not playing around this right now, as of today when the patch went live, like you're failing miserably. Like this is like priority number 1, and is now a brand new Yorick main. This is huge.
Yeah,
This is huge.
It's pretty big. I think that as a jungler, like if you can take it, I think it.
Dude, I think that's something you can actually in the early game 5-man group around.
Possibly, yeah. I could
get that, and I'm like level 8 or 9. Like
they go.
Fuck bot outer. I'm gonna go top. I'm gonna tell everyone I can get to go top, and we're gonna kill.
I think
towers.
It dies a lot earlier now. It's actually easier to kill. So like, I think they're gonna be taking around. Like, I can reasonably see people taking this at 5 or 6, like with 2 people.
If this doesn't change, I wouldn't surprise me if in pro play we start seeing lane swaps come back just for the sake of that being so important.
Yeah,
dude, no kidding. Because the reason why people are down there is because Dragon.
Yeah, but now Dragon doesn't gift you anything like immediate, like that's that tangible. So Rift Herald just feels better anyways.
That'd be a great way to shake up the professional play too.
Yeah, it's a big
really
deal.
Important.
Yeah, I mean,
there is something really important that they forgot to put in everything, and so they've kind of announced it on like Twitter and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the cast, when you use it, when you take the buff, you take it just like you used to. It goes into your 4th item slot where your trinket is. It goes into your trinket slot. So when you get back to lane and you summon it, that summon is interruptible
with damage.
Yes,
you lose it.
Yes,
and you lose it.
I thought it was like a channel.
No, it's a channel, and you lose it if you get interrupted. So
which
do
is
not
super
use it.
awkward. Yeah,
that's like amazing.
And if you see them trying to use it, you flash on them. You do anything you can.
Right.
To
just
it
doesn't respawn, right? It doesn't respawn just like
no, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like you use it once and that's it, right? So
you use it
that's
once
wonderful.
I think it's really interesting. I mean, like I like the idea of it.
I agree. I think they actually designed it. I think the numbers are a bit too high now because, like you said, that video where like they like push like 1 million towers. That's a little much.
But that's you just have to realize like it's completely uncontested. Like they aren't mid at all, and the thing deals damage based on how much HP it has left. So if you hurt it does less damage. Yeah,
because people aren't going to really be coordinated, and if someone is there to fight it, it's very likely that it may only be one person, the laner. Yeah. And that's not enough, especially if they send 2 to 3 people there along with it.
Like, let's put it this way: if Benson is jungling as Kha'Zix, I'm top as Yorick, and we take it, we're instantly going mid and 3-manning down mid with our mid laner. Like it's gone unless your entire team responds. There's just there's no trading there. And now imagine if you have like a Mordekaiser who takes Dragon as well.
Oh
right?
god!
Like there's just no
pets.
end to the possibilities here.
Team Kaiju.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. I also think it's like a weird, in a weird way. I actually think it's a buff to like all the attack speed oriented junglers like Master Yi and Graves, because they can take this theoretically solo. So they can, because there's not a huge benefit to putting it on a laner now, right? Where like before, as a jungler you didn't really want it. right? Because like you only charged when you were away from people. Like it was good. Like it was better on a solo laner. But now it doesn't matter. Like because you get the recall right away. So like you can take it, be it like nothing, get away with the empowered recall, and then just go to a lane and push it down, right?
Yep.
So it's a weird buff. It's an interesting way of them like trying to buff like remember how we've been kind of complaining about farm jugglers not being like strong for a weird time, like Elise and Lee Sin. Like this is a weird indirect buff to them, right? Because like Master,
do you think Shyvana will come back?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I love that not even hesitation, just like second and a half. Yep.
Yeah. Because she could solo stuff like that.
Well,
and,
everyone can solo it right now. Like its numbers are, it's easy to kill and it's really strong. Like they
want it to be something. My only worry about it is that maybe it's strong due to map balance, like which side you're on, because it's sort of awkward if you're having to go over the wall versus going to it from your blue buff.
Yeah, escaping is really tough.
Well, it's going to change the way top lane wards.
Yeah, exactly.
So like what I'm basically going to be doing is trinketing my bushes, but then using a pink and dropping it in like the corner of it so that if a jungler roams by, it won't reveal my ward, but I can still see when they actively try to take it.
Yeah. Or like you're warding, or you're keeping the spot where the crab goes warded.
Yeah.
Which is sort of good top lane like stuff anyway, but
it's just you have to really rethink it. What I will say is if you take it too early and like you take your lane too early, you kind of do screw yourself over a little bit if you don't win the rest of the map after that, because you're basically giving your opponent a free freeze at a time where you're not really strong enough to make a huge difference elsewhere.
You know what's really weird about this is that like, you know, I was just thinking this. You remember how old Dragon, they actually got rid of it because they didn't like the gold bonus that it gave early in the game. So if you took first Dragon, like you almost always won the game. Something like 70% of the time, the team that took first Dragon won. Like, doesn't this feel a little bit like this, where like you're gonna take this thing and then push a turret down and immediately get the gold bonus, and then
it's the exact same thing.
Like. I mean, I know it's more interactive, right? Because you've got to like take an objective, and then you've got to like go there, and then they have to not contest it.
It's so hard to kill that before it kills the tower.
I just don't see it being used bot lane, because if they've got two champions that can focus it down that are already there, like it's going to be used mid and top.
That's why I like this thing for mid and top, because it can be CC'd. Well, like you said, when there's only one or two people on it, or there's only like one person on it, like the CC you're going to do for it doesn't matter. Like if you stun it for a second and a half, like whoop-de-doo, you know?
Yeah.
That's you're just using it as part of your rotation anyway, so the stun itself doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
You really, if you get it though, a couple tips: use it when you have a cannon wave, and use it when the wave is about to crash into their turret, a full wave. You want as much time as possible that thing is not being attacked. If you use it in the middle of the lane, it's going to go for their turret regardless of where your minions are, and their champion can just ignore you and go kill it while you're sitting there trying to kill or trying to push a wave. So you want to use it in sync with your push in order to get maximum value for it.
Yeah. So just like push the wave in. You know, just like you were going to take a turret, like push the wave in, let the turret start attacking the minions, and then use the thing, right?
Yep.
And there's
use it back so you can get in and
back like in the middle of the lane, roughly. Yeah.
Okay, so if this is as strong as we think it like potentially could be, do you think the meta will have a shift towards like push heavy top laners and the attack speed, or like farm oriented junglers?
I think so.
Tryndamere, Yorick. I'm so excited as a Yorick player now to be able, as a Yorick abuser, to use this. Like I cannot get more excited about it. Between it, my maiden, and just having like a jungler with me, like that's game over for like everything.
I also wonder if it does weird things to the top lane meta where maybe you don't have to play a champion that can actually kill the turret. So like things like where like, you know how Ryze like early, like there's no way he's ever going to kill the turret, and they basically get a free TP bot and it doesn't matter because Ryze can't kill the turret. Like, I wonder if this is a weird indirect buff to them, because it's like, yeah, I can't kill the turret, but I can kill this thing, and then I can walk top, and it's going to kill the turret, you know?
This is huge for tanks.
Yeah, tanks have a huge time killing the turret.
Where they're not 80, they're not 80, and they can't kill a turret when you leave them up there. You know, like people like Nautilus, where Nautilus is up there, and it's like, I can roam for, like, so, like, think about, like, Wukong versus Nautilus, like, in the top lane. I know Wukong is not a meta top laner, but, like, Wukong like just like can roam and like fight on the map and not really lose a ton to Nautilus, right? Because like he can't do a ton of damage to the turret and like, but now like I wonder if like Nautilus can just call his jungler and be like, oh, Wukong TP bot, like just come take this thing and we'll just kill the turret. All right. Whereas before it's like if your jungler goes up there and it's like Elise, like you're probably not killing the turret. I don't know. It's weird. I'm really interested to see what this does to the game, to be honest.
I like that it doesn't. It opens up picks instead of lessons them. Or
I hope that's what it does.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean,
it might.
Exactly. I think it might actually in the beginning because I do think the numbers on it are a little bit too strong.
Yeah.
I do like all the design choices they made for it. Like the fact that it can be stunned, the fact that it does less damage the weaker it gets, something like that. That you do have a lot of ways to interact with it in meaningful ways.
Yeah.
But I think the numbers on it are a little bit too good.
Well, we'll see. It's gonna be coming to the Rift. It's on the Rift right now. It's killing turrets right now. So, all right. So let's get into the tank updates. Right. Let's kind of breeze through these. We're not gonna go through a bunch of numbers. Do you want me to just go through these? I can read through them real fast.
Go for it.
All right, so Maokai, they don't like the way Maokai's R works, right? That's why Maokai's always been too good. His R gives him way too much durability. He can be like just destroyed in the top lane, and he's still useful because he still has his R. Okay, so they've goofed around with him a bit. They goof with his passive. Doesn't use a stacking system anytime. It's weird. It's a nerf to his passive, so he doesn't get like tons of like free sustain, and it doesn't trigger if he's above 95% health, so it's not topping him off. They basically left his Q virtually the same. It's a little slower now. The W is basically the same. Functionally, the E is in a weird ways. They buffed his E, right? Where
100%.
they laughed a lot longer in the brush, so they're used the way a lot of Maokai players use them, which is like, oh, it's a ward. But
they're now going to be used intuitively how they're supposed to be used.
Yep.
As opposed to like some weird cheese thing or like a war. It's like a war, but it lasts so short that it doesn't really matter.
They are very strong, and he can stack them in a bush. So like if you walk into a bush with like 5 of these in it, it's bad times. You are going to take a ton of damage. So they changed his E. They made his E better, which they're saying is a buff to his jungling. I don't think it is, but okay, we'll see. They totally changed his R. So they took away his old R, which was like free damage reduction, which was it's been crazy broken since it sat on him. Because if you remember, you push it and it would sit in a place, and Maokai would have to fight that place. Then they decided, let's make it follow him. And instantly Maokai was like insane, right?
Yeah.
So they changed it where he pushes R and basically gets a really wide Nami wave. Okay, so that's the way to think about it. Is it's a Nami wave of roots that moves very slowly. I can't emphasize how slowly it moves. And when those roots touch someone, the first person that it touches them, it roots and they get stuck. So it's a cool engage. It's very wide, so like you can do it like across. Like if you're coming from the side of mid lane, I think the video that they have is like them at like the guy's raptors, and he like does it, and it like covers the whole lane and the tower.
It almost reaches tower to tower.
Yeah, it's really big. It's interesting. It's hard to judge how good it is until we actually see it in play, but the general like consensus is that Maokai is just gutted and he's terrible. So
yeah. Well, so you know how like Nami's ultimate is the worst ability on her kid?
Yeah.
I feel like this is also just true for Maokai.
I feel bad.
It's like even more so because like Nami's ult, at least when it hits, like it doesn't stop on the first enemy it hits.
Yeah.
This, if you're standing behind your tank, it's not going to touch you.
Yeah, you can actually block it. Like you can body block it. It's just
like
so
there's
awkward.
so much about this that is counterplayable and not in a healthy way.
You can body block the roots, the individual. So there's individual roots, right?
What?
That go, and if you
That's
stand,
terrible.
it's so bad, right?
Dude, that's unplayable. That's
It's
like
really
What it is, you know what's
it's
weird?
really good for securing a kill, like if you're chasing someone down.
A single person, yeah.
But like, it's
if they
not
have
good.
zero mobility.
Or if you, or if you flank, if you can flank a fight, it would be okay.
I could
like,
see
because-
placing it from a flank where they just cannot get away, right? Like, so I could see like
Yeah, but that's like so.
it's very
so,
corner
like,
casey.
specific. Yeah, like
It's also
that's just almost never gonna happen. And even then, if you see it coming, because you're gonna see it coming because
Right.
it's slow as fuck. Basically, the tank can actually walk from one side of the team fight and
just
himself
position
to where it'll
himself.
hit him first.
It's like, oh, this is gonna hit my dudes. I better go stand over here, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll step half a step to the right because it only has to hit him first, so he doesn't even have to position that far
but
away.
remember that like, so the way it works is like there's individual routes. So like they all have to like line up behind the tank, right? So there is some like coordination needed there, right? So
Yeah.
they have to like,
think
okay, he's gonna block this route, and then we're all gonna stand behind this route.
Yeah, I just
but-
think it's like really only good for that thing where you're diving a solo laner and you're coming from behind or beside the lane, and you're using it as a surefire way to make sure he starts off the fights snared.
Yeah,
and
Well,
then you just dive in.
I think it's a
watched
sick disengage too, actually.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
I watched a stream today where a Tryndamere was top against a Maokai and he got ganked, and the Tryndamere was like trying to run back to his turret, and Maokai used his ult, and like even I watching it felt like there was a tidal wave approaching him that like he couldn't. He remarked, he's like, man, I can't get away from that. Like once that came, I was
Yeah.
screwed. Because like if it's used in a place where you're cornered, it's huge. Like I do think it has a lot of playmaking potential, but it's too weak.
It's just, man, like compared to his old R, which made him like very good at what he wanted to do. Man,
if they had
like,
just like changed his R to be like reduces magic damage or only reduces AD, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
if they specialized his old, I think it would have been better. But this, I mean,
I
it
just
is
feel
what
like
it is.
this guts him, and like I have no interest in playing Maokai. I'm gonna tell you right now. So,
which is sad. I'm one S away from
Yeah, I
maxing
agree.
7 on him.
so
I
all
I
right.
might actually pick him up as support because of the bush change.
A lot of people say that, yeah. So they think maybe he's
and
good
then
as support.
yeah, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take him and I'm just gonna gank mid 5 times,
Yeah.
and that's what my role is gonna be. But even then, I still don't think he's all that great.
Yeah.
Cat, you are the clumsiest thing of all time.
All right. So
Let's
let's
take us through.
let's
Sejuani.
go to Sejuani. So Sejuani, they've goofed around with. Before I'll start with this, I actually think Sedge is actually the best of the reworks. I think she is extremely strong. And I think Show's probably the one that'll see play the most. So they've goofed around with their base stats a little bit. They're doing some things here where you're going to see a bunch of numbers changes, and they're mainly due to the durability changes on items, right?
Yeah.
So she has a new passive, and basically the way to think about this passive is it's very similar to Malzahar passive, okay? Where when she doesn't take damage for a while, she gains bonus resistances and slow immunity. Okay, so she can't be slowed. It lingers a little bit after she takes damage. So like she'll get autoed and then she'll hold on to that immunity and those resistances. That's relevant because these are huge numbers. Like it doubles her total resistances. Okay. And then after it doubles them, it adds 100 bonus armor and magic resist. So when this passive is on, she is super tanky. Like
She is the strongest initiator in the game.
yeah, she is super strong. She takes like no damage. Okay. The linger is not very long, but it does scale up. It goes 1, 2, 3. I think these numbers are insane. To be honest, that thing lasting 3 seconds, like the fight's over. Like, I think she's gonna catch nerfs the quickest. It recharges after 9 seconds of not taking damage. Like that's way too low in my opinion, but
Yep.
it's also like free sustain in the jungle because like
Yeah.
if she's moving between camps and like she's going like she's just gonna get this passive up and like it's gonna be huge. Like so she's going from base and like it's just
It doesn't punish her going from a camp to a lane. If she
Yeah.
goes to a camp and then goes to a lane, she'll have it up in time.
yeah, she'll have it up in time. Okay, the other thing is she has a thing. The other part of her passive is enemies stunned by Sedge. The other piece is that damage from minions or small monsters don't break the frost armor or interrupt its charge timer. So you can't like accidentally get aggroed by a minion and lose this.
I don't like it not being able to interrupt it.
This passive to me seems so broken.
Oh yeah,
but like
dude, it has one section that's amazing, and then it has a whole nother section that's
Yeah.
also just insane.
thankfully,
like, it
she's
has-
only immune to slows. It's not CC in total, like
Yeah,
Mal's. That would just be insane. But I still
But like,
think
even
this
if
is
her
absurd.
passive was only the first part,
Yeah. then
it'll probably be a little bit too good.
Yeah, this is also crazy because this is like how old Sedge worked, but it's on her passive now, and it's like enemies stunned by Sejuani are frozen, causing her first spell or attack against them to deal bonus damage, and this bonus damage is insane. Okay,
Yeah,
it's like,
what the heck?
It's 10, and it scales at 1, 7, and 14. It's 10, 15, 20, and it's 20% not of her health. It's target's maximum health. Okay, so like, what? Like, if she stuns you and then autos you, you take at least 10% of your maximum health. That's in addition to whatever the damage that she actually does. Like,
if she gets onto your ADC in a fight, like,
it's so crazy. It's like so much damage. And
Can you guys think of a scenario in bot lane where you gank, it goes badly because of a counter gank, you run off, and because your passive only takes 9 seconds to recharge, you're able to go back in?
it's just so frustrating. Like,
yeah.
So okay, all right. So there's her passives, right? Their Q is functionally basically the same. The big thing that they changed on her Q, and this is actually a nerf, is they nerfed the knockup duration. They've nerfed a lot of things here because they know that passive is strong, right? So they nerfed damage numbers. They made the cost lower. They made the cooldown lower. So in a weird way, there's some sort of buffs. Like, they want you to do it more. But it also doesn't knock up enemies around the first target. It's just the first target, which is really good because the old Q you could hit like multiple people and it was crazy. So that's good, at least, I guess. It's more ways to get in with they want you to basically build up your passive and queue them. So that's why they're like, oh, it costs less and it has a lower cooldown. Like, please do this. They gave her a new W. It's a completely new W. She swings her mace in an arc, then lashes out in a line. Both hits deal damage and apply frost. Sejuani's like stupid, like weird now. Like, she has like so many things. Like, she has 2 passives, right? And then she has this other thing called frost, right? Which is another, like, old Sejuani was really simple. Like, you would just apply the cold to them and then you would freeze them and it was fine. Now it's like she's so complicated, but I'm getting off track. But so when you first hit them with it, it does damage plus % of her maximum health. So similar to her old W in a cone, and then it applies frost and it knocks back minions. So now she's got a kiting ability, which is it's
for the jungle clear.
It's a 10-second cooldown, so like it's not crazy. There is a delay like the old W, but the second hit of it, the one that applies in a line, deals 40. It starts at 40, but 4.5 so the first hit does 1.5 plus a base. You know, at rank 1 this thing does 30 plus 1.5% of her base. Then it does 40 and then 4.5% of her maximum health. It's like so much. It does 6% of her damage. Like,
and it applies her frost.
Right? So frost, we'll get to what it does like on E. It also can move freely during it, just like the old W. She can just move and like whatever. So this is a weird, strange, change to her. It makes it more of a skill shot, right? Like the old W, you would hit somebody and you just swing this thing around and like everything would get frosted.
It's basically like a Rengar Q, like a current Rengar Q, but you can change the direction the second hit goes.
Yeah, and she could turn around
by just turning.
She could turn, and it looks real weird because her torso like turns as she does it, and she looks like freaky exorcist like when she does it. So it's real weird looking. So her E, they've changed that too. So Sejuani and her nearby melee allies apply frost, which is the thing we just talked about, with their basic attack, stacking up to 4 times. Just like Braum. Wow, okay. Sejuani can cast permafrost on enemies with max frost stack. So this is like her oldie where you would have to apply a passive and then you would use it, okay? The cooldown on this is super low. It's 1.5 seconds, but remember you have to apply the passive. So there's a per target cooldown like Braum. And it stuns them immediately when you push E. It's not a slow like the old one. So you're not getting like this old perma slow like you used to on Sedge, where you would just W them and E them and they could just never get away from you after a certain point. Once you had enough CDR, they could just never get away. So this basically, you're applying the frost stacks. You're trying to apply more frost stacks. It stacks up to 4 times. once you get the fourth one, she can push E and she freezes everybody that has the maximum number of them.
And because of this, she's going to be really good with melee supports. Any tank support she's going to be good with, or a melee top laner. She's not going to like Rumble. She's not going to like, some of these others, but she'll love like a Tom Kench. She'll love a Braum, Renekton, because this is because like she doesn't have to stack it. Her melee allies plus her stack it.
Yeah, or like Master Yi.
Like, so does Renekton W like apply it immediately if it's empowered?
It does. Yeah. So you'll push W and they'll get it, and then you'll just stun them after. Like the Sejuani ganking the Renekton lane is just like a nightmare, right? You're just gonna get obliterated.
Same with Sejuani in a Tam Kench lane, but it's a little slower, right?
Yeah.
But it would, in theory, like you get that, you stun them, and then you get Tam Kench free stacks on them, like.
So. Real quick, before we get to her R, and they've changed her R, but functionally it's sort of the same. We'll get into what it like. It's kind of the same idea, but what this does to her, like, ignore the sort of like crazy passive that's broken, right? And like the percentage health. What this has done is it makes it harder for you to just perma slow somebody, because that's what old Sedge was. That's why Sedge was really hard to balance before. Is when Sedge's numbers were too high and when tank items were good, Sedge would get on you and you could just never get away from her. And she would just CC you forever, and she's just super frustrating to play against because it's like, oh, she landed a Q, I'm dead. You know, I can't ever get away from her because she's just going to keep Wing me, and W is always up, and I'll just push E whenever you sort of get away, and then I'll just Q you again, and then the cycle would repeat, and you would just get destroyed. So what they've tried to do here is like, they're front loading her CC, right? Where it's like, okay, you've got it's conditional now. It's like, oh well, you gotta land some auto attacks, and then you gotta push E, and then they get stunned. And the CC is obviously harder. It's a stun versus a slow, so
you have to work for it. Yeah,
I think her W and her E, they do more damage, right? But I think functionally they actually do less because you're not going to be able to just sit on them like you could before, right?
He's going to be really good in an upfront, like, let's team fight right now.
Yeah.
Like,
she's not
going to be good in like, she's not going to want to do a lot of standoff.
Yeah, she's also not the great Sedge. Like, Sedge in weird ways was like incredibly difficult to 1v1. Like, once she was ahead, like, she was impossible to 1v1 because like if she's ahead, you never get away from her, and she'd just run you down and kill you. So now I think that like this damage, she's better with other people, right? If you're an idiot and you stand there and let her auto you like 4 times, yeah, okay, that's not so great, you know. But I think like she's not gonna perma slow you like the old Sedge did. Yeah. They've changed her R, and the idea is that now she throws the bola and it only stuns the first person it hits, which is huge. As the old one, you would throw it at a location, and when it hit something or it reached the location, it would explode, and it would stun like everything around it and slow everything around. It was just like the most brainless ability in the game. You just push R and point it at somebody, and like they would get stunned like all the time, and it would just stun everything that was close. And
it was huge. It was
super easy to do, and so although some professional junglers still manage to miss it, but
oh god, I don't want to talk about that.
So the stun is long, right? And it is the stun doubles in length the longer the thing travels. So the old Sedge, it was sort of frustrating because of like she queued you. There was this weird frustrating thing where she would Q you, and then she would R you, and then she would W and E you, and you were just stuck in place forever. You could just never move. So trying to get away from that, where you just Q them and R them, because you can't miss if you're on them, right? Like they're up in the air, they're R'd, right? So you get 1 second of stun if they're close, and you get 2 seconds of stun if it's like they're further away. They're over 400 units away.
It has to travel a certain distance before exploding.
It also does it does a lot more damage. So it basically does double damage when it's further away, and it does double the stun. Like the snipe, this thing from far away does a lot of damage. Like it's basically like a ranged Amubu ult that does a bunch. Like the old one doesn't do a ton of damage. This one does a bunch. It's like 150, 250, 350, 0.8 ability power. So I actually think ability power is maybe better on her, because most of her abilities like have AP ratios kind of like the old one, but the old one, a lot of her abilities scaled with health. So like she wants health because of her passive, but I think AP is still good on her in a weird way. And because she doesn't have the perma-slow, I actually think Rylai's might actually be okay. Maybe?
Well, the passive only does damage for their max HP.
Right. But yeah, so like what I'm saying is like I don't think she wants health as much as she used to, right? Like I don't think she needs
I think she'll still be better with the health
because the W is like a percentage health, right?
Yeah, and it has 2 parts of it that can hit and both apply, and 4.5% is a lot. And if you look at the cooldown, if you max that one first, it actually only becomes 6 seconds.
Well, you always max W first, like back in the day, yeah.
And I think with her build path, how she's also going to additionally build CDR, I think it's going to become a very, very short cooldown that does a lot of damage based on her HP. Like if she's able to throw out one of those things like every 4 seconds,
yeah,
even it's going to be a little bit longer cooldown than that because you have to have the delay to be able to cast both parts of it to go on its initial cooldown. So it'll probably be closer to with the CDR be a 5 or 6 second cooldown. But with the damage that it does, as well as the fact that it also does it in a line, that's like a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
The other thing that is important too is like the way her bola works now is that once it's empowered, if you throw it super far away, it leaves a storm behind itself that explodes eventually. So like now it makes like a weird zone of death. So like it's like so it flies and the storm lasts like 2 seconds and it slows everything that enters it, and then it blows up for like about as it actually does more damage than the short range bola does. And the explosion, when it blows up, it has an 80% slow hook to it for 3 seconds. So like it's odd because there's going to be a weird scenario where like it's really hard for you to hit anybody with that storm because you're going to throw this thing in a line and then they would have to like walk into it and not get hit by it, right? It's a weird thing. Like this is a weird, like they've done some weird stuff to her, but I think the intention is just to make you throw the bola farther, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it still explodes, if it just sits on the ground in front of you, right? So like, it is the game plan to like throw it, stun them long enough on top of it to where it'll explode again, and then do that additional damage.
Yeah.
I think it's just to reward skill. I just think it's to just. Honestly, like I just see it as you land that long range bola or glacial prison, like you deserve. You deserve it.
I actually, I 100% think that this champion is going to be busted free low while they like goof with their numbers. Because Sejuani is always stupid broken whenever they goof with her. Always. Like traditionally, whenever they change Sejuani, she's always broken. And like I've always abused it, and I have a feeling this will be the same.
Well, now think about this. I know I'm going to jump ahead because we're going to go through Zach, but think about building her with Gargoyle Stoneplate, that new item that when you use the passive is if 3+ enemies are nearby, you gain 40 bonus armor and magic resist. And when you use its active, you gain bonus health equal to 40% of your max health. And if your passive is active, your health increase becomes 100% instead.
It's just
using that on top of her frost armor passive. That's insane.
But I mean, it's real weird. The only part of this, like, I think the kit itself is cool, and I like the way it's designed because, like, it's skill intensive, right? It's not just like mash W and push E and just kill them, like, and run them down. The passive feels way overtuned.
I think they have a lot more areas they can nerf and a lot more levers to pull on her though, which was their goal.
Yeah,
I agree. With how strong her passive is, I thought that they were going to have the rest of her kit be fairly weak, but it's just not. The rest of her kit's really strong. She has access to 3 stuns. Yep. She has a lot of % health damage on relatively low cooldowns. Like it's crazy. Like for how good her kit is and how disgusting her passive is, there's not going to be a whole lot of games where she isn't banned.
I also think like her, I want to be clear though, I'm pretty sure that at the end of the day, this is a nerf to her W. Like, because the way her old W and E worked, once you were on them, they never ever got away. And that's like very strong on a tank that does % health damage, right? So like, it's everything that you wanted, where it was like, once I'm on you, you are dead. You were never getting away, and it doesn't matter. I will fight you for 10 seconds, but you will die. And I don't think she does that anymore. She is exactly what they want her to be, which is an initiator. I also think she's broken, but we'll see.
Projector, you want to talk about Zach?
Yeah.
So
talk about Zach.
Zach, I actually think they did the least amount to him change wise, but that's debatable. I guess it's been him and Maokai, but I think his identity remained mostly the same. So they kept his passive exactly the same. They kept his W exactly the same, and they kept his E exactly the same, except for like they changed numbers on it, and specifically the timeout. It times out a little bit quicker now, almost at all ranks, especially at the last rank. But outside of that, his new Q is stretching strike, and basically the first person.
Hold on, I think this is actually really important. The knock up on his E is actually halved. Like,
oh, is it? I didn't see
that. That's a pretty big nerf. Like, so,
yeah, that's
so it used to be a second, and now it's half a second. So, like, now you're not gonna get hit by an E and just be like, like in the air forever, like you used to be.
Well, here's why too, and I'll get that when I hit the ult. So that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
So his Q, it grabs the first enemy it hits, and then Zach then grabs the next enemy he basic attacks, and he smacks them against each other, and like symbols basically. So that's his Q now. I am curious to know how it does against camps. I'm curious to see how this actually affects his jungle clear.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty cool. Do we know if it actually affects basic attacking a minion?
It does. It works.
It does. It works.
You can clap somebody into a minion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But I don't know if like that. My thing is if the Q. What I don't know is if the Q hits a minion and then you auto attack a champion, if it will still slam them. Like, I don't know if the Q has to be the thing that hits the enemy champion.
It's fine. It works. It works either way.
It works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. You just have to do both. You got to get a champion in there, right?
So, and then his R, Let's Bounce, has changed, and now he squishes himself down into like a pancake on cast. He becomes immune to crowd control and he slows enemies above him while he's flattened. You can still target him and damage him, but you can't CC him. Now, what happens is, when you ult in, and you flatten, you charge your ult. If you charge, it becomes fully charged after 1 second, and can be held for even longer after that. And after you fully charged, you basically can grab everyone that's above you, everyone that's standing in you, and you basically bounce them back to wherever you want within a range. It's kind of like a limited rise ult, but you take your enemies with you.
You take them,
your teammates.
yeah.
So imagine like jumping into the back line and stealing their ADC, and then jumping back into your team.
This thing it's cool.
So
an interesting thing to note. Sorry, an interesting thing to note for this ability as well is the jump backwards once you have whenever you're holding the enemy champions is actually unstoppable.
Yeah.
So you can't cancel it or stun it out of any kind, which is really, really important.
The big thing is like him being immune to CC, like in the middle of this thing, is huge because old Zach, you almost always had to build tenacity on him because you would get CC'd in the middle of your ultimate and be like and do nothing. It was super frustrating.
If you don't charge it, it just knocks back nearby enemies on release. So if you use it and you just jump in, it just knocks them back. And the reason that E nerf, that half-second knockup is nerfed, is because otherwise, if you E into them, you get a free Let's Bounce steal, since you only have to charge your R for 1 second.
Yeah.
You would literally get a free. So your enemies will have a half-a-second window of counterplay to get out of your R. So things like Ezreal, Lucian, Caitlyn, anyone that can like actually have a gap closer or an escape that can get out of that will be fine, but people like Ashe are kind of in trouble. There's nothing she can do unless she Rs you in your E, because I think his elastic slingshot is still interruptible.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to stop him. If he gets onto you, you're kind of screwed there.
So
I think he has the most interesting playmaking ability, and I like that they gave him more creative crowd control. But I don't think he's busted.
I think old Zach was better, right? That's what I'll say. I think this is overall a nerf to Zach, right?
Before the couple of nerfs that made him balanced as he is now, I agree. Yeah, I think old Zach was better.
I think like old Zach was better, and I think Zach last patch before they patched him was probably better than this.
I think wouldn't mind seeing Zach top lane now, actually, with the changes to his ability, especially the Q.
I also agree because I think he's easier to gank for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that his Q is more interactive in lane. you would actually, on old Zac top, you would actually max Q because it was like how you poked. So like, I think that this is good. The damage is decent. It's not great, but it's okay. The proc, if you get the proc, it's real good. The problem
This
is
really good to escape ganks too.
having to like push the wave because there's an AoE collision. Like, it's not just the two enemies, it's everything in the collision area. It also gives him like weird wave clear because like it like AoEs the wave, so you can like auto, like you can Q a minion and then like auto another minion, and like it claps him. Like, his Q is gonna be really weird, and like learning how to use it's gonna be strange. The old Q, I like them changing the old Q because the old Q sucked. It was super boring, and like you would just push Q at them, and like then you just mash it as many times as you could till they were dead. That E nerf
that's how I felt about his W as well. His W was very, very boring. You like E on top of them, W Q W W Q E.
Yeah, but like, the at least the W had the like mini game of the blob. So when you played him, like
that's true.
There was some thought to it. The Q was just like it's on a cooldown, and you just push Q, and they're slowed, and like
that's how old top Zac worked. Is the W is like he would trade like an auto attack and a W with you, and then you'd play the mind game of the blobs. And that's how like the trading went, because you want to step on the blob and he wants to step on the blob, so then like it forces like the next stage of your trading.
Okay, yeah, I mean I agree. I think like I think this is a nerf, but I think he's more interesting, right?
Yeah. He's got some. I think he's got some interesting playmaking abilities. Like if you can flank on his, imagine Eing in to lane from like Raptors and then Ring down back the lane to your team.
Yeah,
like. So he can easily get to your back line and then get back to your and bring you with him to his team without a problem.
His R is more predictable, and it's better at doing a thing. Like if your thing is, and I actually use the R for this a lot, but now it is not the escape tool that it once was, because you used to gain movement speed when you were at R, and you could run somebody down with his R. Yeah. So like, this is like a straight nerf to his R, I think. But I kind of like this nerf. I would rather. I like that they did this instead of like taking away the. I think the nerf to his knockup in addition is heavy. Like, I understand why they did it. I think you're exactly right. Is like it's real bad if you can E on them and then like instantly.
Free ultimate.
I think it just it forces him to build Randuin's Omen now, right?
Yeah.
Like, so what you do is you E them, land on them, and then just use your Randuin's, and they can't get away, and then you just are.
I will say, I do think that this means he'll be played top, because think of what you can do to deny Baron or Dragon with your ultimate.
Yeah.
Like if there's like a 50-50 chance and you just ult onto their jungler and then ult him away from the pit, like there's a lot of peel opportunity too. Because if you ult let's say you ult and you miss their backline and land on their tank, you can just ult their tank further behind them, right? Or ult them out of the fight completely. So you've got options with his ult that I think, as Zac, you're not going to want to. I see him being more of a laner now.
Yeah,
I can definitely see that.
So that's Zac. He's definitely worse, but hey, he's interesting. Play him. See if you like him.
Yeah.
So they've introduced some new items. They've also made a number of changes to items. We're not going to go through those because it's like a long giant list. You should absolutely read them. We're going to go through real quick the new items and then maybe the quick changes to the support items. Yeah. So do you want to just go through the new items real fast?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yep.
So the first one is Adaptive Helm. It provides health and magic resist, and it increases durability against repeated casts of the same spell. It's build path, no magic mantle, Spectre's Cowl, rejuvenation bead. It gives magic resist, health, base health regeneration, and 10% cooldown reduction. Its cost is 2,800 gold, and its passive, taking magic damage from a spell or effect, reduces all subsequent magic damage from that spell or effect by 15% for 4 seconds. There is a refresh on this, so things like it's not as effective as you would think against Cassiopeia. Mm-hmm. You would be looking at actually reducing her stuff like every other cast of her E instead of every cast. Because of the way that it works. So it is.
This is just
you've
a
got
weird
4
item.
seconds before it'll refresh. So it's not gonna be as strong as you think it is.
This is the
really
verse AP top laner item. Like so, like I am Mundo and they are Lysandra. I built this.
Yep.
Like, you know,
Exactly.
that's what it is. So let's go through these real quick, like, because I think what we need to do, and like we're gonna make a unprecedented Summoner Sift decision here, where we're gonna go through these 2 new items, and then we're gonna do another cast and talk about it, because like we've done an hour on these guys, but I think there's a lot more to talk about, and I don't want to like breeze. I want to say what these new items do, but I think we also have a ton of item changes and the support changes. So
Yeah.
all right, so go through gargoyles real quick.
So Gargoyle Stone Plate, its cost is 2,500 gold, builds out of Chain Vest, Negatron Cloak, plus 980 gold. It gives 40 armor and 40 magic resist. Its passive is Stone Skin. If 3 or more enemy champions are nearby, you gain 40 bonus armor and magic resist. So immediately in a team fight, you double your resist gained. And then it's active. For 4 seconds, you grow in size and gain bonus health equal to 40% of your maximum health, but reduce damage dealt by 60%. If Stone Skin is active, so if the passive part of this is active at the time that you activate the item, the health increase becomes 100% of your max health instead. This is significant because if you're playing a champion like Cho'Gath or Darius that does true damage on any of their abilities, this is straight busted.
Yeah. They'll have to. I think they're gonna have to hotfix that, because
yeah, they're gonna have to.
I have 10,000 health. I'm Cho'Gath. I push R, you're dead. Like,
yep. It's just ridiculous. Darius can use it to survive longer if he uses it near the end of a fight after he's already got the stacks off and he's just trying to finish people off. He uses it, gets more of his health back, and then gets all of his ult resets without taking any damage reduced to his ult. That's really significant.
It's real good. I think that item is the better of the two.
This
right?
is not a split push item, right?
Yeah.
This is a team fight tank item.
Yeah. It's interesting. That item is I mean it's basically the tank item that they don't want tanks to build GA anymore, so they made Chain Vest and Negatron build into this now, right? Like so it's interesting.
So, yeah.
So I think those are the items real quick. I think we're going to go through more of these like on another cast. Maybe we'll try to get these guys together maybe another time this week. Because I think like this patch note is too big and we don't want to breeze through it and like just this is what they did. This is what they did. This is what they did. Yeah. We also spent a lot of time on the champions, but I think that's more sort of what people care about, to be honest.
That's going to impact your games more than these 2 items will right now.
Yeah.
Oh, not Spell Thieves.
So stay tuned. We're going to talk about next time. We also have like one. So we're coming up on time, but I think we have one listener that wrote in that we really want to talk about this week, because we've got Contractor with us, and I think it's really cool. So Contractor, do you want to read number 3?
Number 3?
Yep.
I would love to read number 3.
Read number 3.
All right, number 3's question is, hey guys, glad to hear you're back in the podcast. You guys probably won't remember this, but I emailed you guys a few months back about carrying bot lane. I always thought ADC was the main carry of the bot lane. I was wrong. Just wanted to thank you guys on your advice, and you told me to switch to support as I have a much bigger champion pool there, and gave solid advice on supports and solo queue. After spending a while grinding as ADC, see attached photo here, I switched to support and I'm comfortable climbing reach in Diamond 5. If I didn't switch, I think I'd still be hard stuck in Platinum. Keep the content coming. Love it. Derek Rooney, aka Deru92.
Yeah.
So if you in the email he sent us, he attached a photo of all of his his KDAs and his win rates on his champions. His ADC win rates are like in the 40s and his KDAs are mediocre. All of a sudden you just see this huge list of supports show up and they're all like 75, 80% win rates with like ridiculous KDAs.
This guy does not lose on support. It's pretty insane.
It's like he turned into a Smurf.
Yeah, I mean, he like overnight, like suddenly we unleashed the beast, right? Like,
so yeah, we just wanted to give him a shout out, and Contractor, you're the one that gave him that advice.
I'm so proud.
Because that was exactly the little ADCs when they emerge from their cocoon and they turn into Karma players.
Like support's fun too. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's just how you play the role.
Amazing.
Dude, if I get autofill to support, I play Brand, Morgana, or Blitzcrank, and I have a blast.
Yeah,
like
so
it's just fun to do.
It's so awesome, and like I think that is like the coolest thing, because I mean, somebody took a piece of our advice. We just ramble on and talk a bunch of nonsense for an hour every week, hopefully, and finally somebody like did something with Somebody made something of their life. Good job. Like,
Yeah.
congratulations. So, I mean, we pick somebody every week to win, and we would be happy to pick that guy this week because take your skin in a diamond and be good and be super happy. So, yay! Let's go. Let's give her a round of
I
applause.
told myself I wouldn't cry. I told myself I wouldn't cry.
That's so cool. Well,
say
congratulations, Daru. Yeah.
Hey man, you gotta have like the other middle name now, which is Tiger Woods.
Well, that's the chocolate part.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He's catching up. All right. So that's I think that for this week. So we will follow up with another cast very shortly. We're back on it. Back to fighting shape. So we will go through the other parts of the items and definitely the support changes because I know contractors are dying. We also have a lot more questions to get through. So
exactly, yeah, and we'll pick another winner for those ones as well next week.
Yep. So thank you so much for tuning in. We love you guys out there. If you want to send in a question, send it to summonersift@gmail.com. Not hard to remember. You can find the cast in a million different places. Rate us on iTunes. We would love that. You could search for Summoner Sift. You can go to the website. You can actually see pictures of our puppies this week. We will put them on the picture of the cast. I know there's a better way to say that. So we love you. We'll have another cast out soon. Any final thoughts? What do you got?
Yeah, if you guys are also interested, either you're talking to us instead of kind of like a daily basis, instead of waiting for the podcast to come out, we actually have a group chat on Weeg that you can go in and play with, and we have like a community that a lot of people are starting to play kind of regularly together. Then we also hop on there and play a lot of normal games and stuff too. So if you're interested in playing with us, just hop in there, shoot us a message if you see anybody online, or we'll type in there, try to get a normal game together.
Yeah, you can add the Benson, TheBenson. That is me, or Projector, Projector, or Contractor's long giant name, Contractor Burger King 201.
Have it your way, baby.
Have it your way. And we will add you to the club immediately, and you can get in there and start playing some games with some of our folks. So,
yep.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for listening.